The Wimbledon ladies finals are set as Anisimova and Iga Swiatek will fight to become our ninth different ladies singles champion over the past 9 Wimbledons. I'll analyze how Anisimova got that win over Sabalenka and analyze whether she has a legit shot to take down the red-hot Iga Swiatek in the championship this Saturday. Hello, my name is Christian Basnight and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post new content. So yes, Anisimova, she pulled off an incredible 6-4, 4-6, 6-4 win in 2 hours and 37 minutes to topple the world #1 Aryna Sabalenka. This marks Anisimova's first ever slam singles final, and she also becomes the first American woman to reach the Wimbledon final since Serena did it back in 2019. And Anisimova's semifinal win means that we have had an American woman in the last 4 women's singles finals, and that's the first time we've had that since Serena did it all herself exactly 10 years ago, which is incredible. Sabalenka was also trying to become the first woman since Serena, as if she had won this match, she would have been the first woman since Williams to reach all 4 finals back to back since Serena did it again in 2015. Now, talking about the match, the first set was really nip and tuck. Anisimova, she served well in the opening set. She only lost 4 points behind her first serve, and Sabalenka did have a good chance despite this to break Anisimova's serve. At 3-all, she had a love 40 look, 3 break points consecutively, but Sabalenka's return, it was just really poor, and that was a big theme of this entire match. It was so obvious. When Sabalenka had that 40 love or love 40 look, she missed 2 returns, and that last break point that Anisimova saved was due to Sabalenka just returning the ball so short, and Amanda just couldn't help but take advantage of it. And really, the return of Aryna, that was the sole main shot that lost her this match. She missed so many returns on both the first and second serves, and it was just quite baffling. And whenever she even did make the return, a lot of times it was just too short in the court, and again, Amanda just took full advantage. And that enabled these short returns, it enabled Amanda to step up and dictate points, especially behind her own serve. When Amanda has time, she's money, like she's hard to beat. But whenever she's pressured and whenever she's put on the move and on the defensive, she is very vulnerable. And Aryna wasn't able to get Amanda on the move nearly enough in the first and third sets. Sabalenka was the one on defense for a good part of this match. And that's a big reason of why Anisimova had a 5-3 head-to-head advantage over the Belarusian. Sabalenka also allowed Anisimova way too many second serve points won. The American finished with 63% of second serve points won. And again, that ties back to the poor Sabalenka return, especially whenever Sabalenka returned on the ad side. She missed way too many returns. And I noticed that was a particular problem for Aryna in her third round match against Emma Raducanu. Aryna did not do a great job at all of reading Anisimova's serve because, to be honest, Anisimova was very predictable on her serve. She tended to go wide on both the deuce and outside, and Sabalenka just kept getting beat time after time. And I think that she would have done well to kind of cut the angle off and pressure Anisimova to go for her lesser comfortable serve, the one down the tee. Sabalenka, though, she did serve better in this match compared to her quarterfinal against Laura Siegemund, as she hit her spots a lot better. Although Anisimova was still, she returned well herself. She was all on top of Sabalenka's serve, especially in the first and third sets, and she was able to really rush Sabalenka even more so. And I knew that the grass would further aid Anisimova in this matchup, and the American did a great job of rushing Sabalenka's forehand throughout this entire match. And the match itself was extremely wild, as both women really had opportunities to take the match in straight sets. I already mentioned how Sabalenka failed to capitalize on those break points in the first set, but Anisimova, she was in the lead in the second set, even though it was on serve. She was in a good position being up 3-2, and around this time, Anisimova had a little bit of an extended grunt when she hit a backhand winner during this 3-2 game, and that really, you could tell, it pissed Sabalenka off and it fired her up. And she mentioned this in her post-match press conference, saying, "I was just trying to chase the ball." Yeah, she was already celebrating it. I was like, I mean, that's a little bit too early. Then she kind of pissed me off saying that, oh, that's what she does all the time. I was grateful that she actually said that because I was like, it'll actually help me to keep fighting. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to show you the tennis. So I came back because I got really angry in that moment. I just love how Sabalenka, is just so raw, even still, despite the whole controversy. I think there was nothing really wrong with what she said there. That's just her telling us, walking us through how she felt in that moment. Anywho, Anisimova, she had a 30-love advantage when she was serving at 3-all in the second set, but there, I felt like she felt the moment, and she let Sabalenka off the hook, like, notably. That caused Sabalenka to break her serve, and then Sabalenka, she went down love 30 the following game when she was serving at 4-3, but she was able to serve her way out of trouble just with clutch play. Even though Sabalenka won the second set, I think that her not breaking Anisimova at 5-3 to win the set hurt her badly, because she had 4 set points at this point, and I think she did get tight around here, and she made some costly errors. And I say that Sabalenka not breaking here hurt her, because if she broke to win the second set 6-3, she would have served first. And we all know serving first, especially when you're a good server like Sabalenka, that puts you at a better advantage. But regardless, Sabalenka still started the third set really strong. She broke Anisimova's serve first, and it looked like she was going to run away with the third set. And around this point, Anisimova looked gassed, but once again, Sabalenka just made life harder for herself. And she had a game point to consolidate the early break in the decider, but Amanda, she saved it with the solid backhand down the line return. And I do think that Sabalenka made the mistake. Whew. Oh my gosh. Maybe that was the spirit of Sabalenka. I don't know. Anywho, oh my gosh, that shook me up. I think that Sabalenka made the mistake of going to the stronger Anisimova backhand one too many times here in this match. Amanda, she was able to break right back in the third set, and that was huge for her. And she only dropped serve one other time in this third set, and that's when she served for the match at 5-3. Much of this third set was really about Sabalenka and her missed opportunities. Also, of course, Amanda, she just held her nerve better, and she did improve her level as the third set progressed. But talking about Sabalenka and her missed opportunities, she had an opening to get the break back at 1-all, but she once again, like, her return was an issue. And even when she did make her return in again, it was just too short, and Anisimova was quick to pounce. Sabalenka also had a game point at 1-2, but her bigger fumble during this game came when she was break point down, and she had an easy put away shot, but she just had a mental lapse. She pulled a Sabalenka and just missed the forehand long. Like, she had the full open court. She could have just dropped it. I don't know why she didn't do that more, but it is what it is. And that really, I think that shot miss alone could have cost her this entire match. She also had 2 breakback points at 1-3, but she missed the return on her first break opportunity, and then that gave Amanda the only opening she needed, and Anisimova was simply too good for the rest of that game, I feel. Now, I will give Sabalenka some credit for this third set and how she fought, as she saved a break point at 1-4, and she also saved 3 match points total, but she just dug herself too big of a hole going down love 40 in that final game. Talking about where Sabalenka went wrong in this match, I already mentioned the return. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I also think that she could have mixed up her serve placement a little bit more. And what I mean by that is she could have went more serves to the Anisimova forehand, especially on the ad side on the second serve. She played it a little bit too safe, and I think that Anisimova's forehand, it was in the midst of breaking down during the third set. I also think that Sabalenka could have done a better job of going behind Anisimova a little bit more, as whenever she did that, she had pretty good success. I also think that Sabalenka was a little bit too passive in this match. She kind of let Anisimova dictate, and the match was more on Amanda's racket, and really, I think she should have done a better job of trying to beat Anisimova with pace and just be more aggressive. And I also think that another aspect of it is she could have used her forehand angle shot to open up the court more for herself and also get Anisimova on the move, where, of course, the American is a little bit more vulnerable. And finally, I think that Sabalenka should have done a better job of being a better front runner, and she really could have closed out the match similar to how she did at Roland Garros, the bagel set 6-love. I truly feel like she could, but again, getting broken right back in that third set was not good. And I think a bad omen for her was that quarterfinal when she was unable to do the same thing, run away with the quarterfinal when the match was kind of on her racket against Laura Siegemund. And I feel like overall, she just wasn't playing her best tennis. She played good up until the 4th round, I feel, but even up through that point I mentioned earlier, she showed signs of wobbliness with her returns, and then the quarterfinal was just, honestly, it wasn't a great match from her, and the semifinal wasn't a great match for her either, so it just wasn't her tournament to win, I feel, judging from her last few matches. It sucks for Sabalenka. I mean, she's come so close to winning like slams this year, and yet she leaves slamless for now. And I know that she cannot stand American women, as her last 3 slam losses have all come against an American woman: Keys, Goff, and now Anisimova. It has been a great year for Sabalenka, no doubt. And if she would have won Wimbledon, she would have surpassed Serena as the all-time rankings points leader at like 13,000 plus points. But the fact that right now she has no major to show for it, like, that sucks. And I feel like this will be the first time this has happened where we've had a pretty dominant world number 1 who goes deep at pretty much all the big tournaments but still doesn't win a slam since I don't really know when. Like, this is really quite something. And I coming into this tournament, I felt like Sabalenka would complete the Serena 2016 prophecy of losing her first 2 slam finals of the year before bringing it together at Wimbledon. That's ultimately why I decided to pick her to win the title, but she's not going to follow the prophecy. And as someone on Twitter said, she's currently following the Safina 2009 prophecy, where she lost her first 2 slam finals before losing in the Wimbledon semifinals. So definitely not good company to be in if you're Sabalenka. I feel like right now, Sabalenka has put herself into countless positions to win more slams. And I truly feel like right now she is the biggest underachiever that we have right now on the tour. Her only walking away with 3 slams is crazy. And I feel like it's just about her not bringing it even more at the big moments. I still feel like she crumbles a little bit. She has improved a lot on that front, especially where she was before in 2021 and 2022, and how she fumbled a lot of those slam like semifinal opportunities. But, you know, these finals and now another semifinal loss, it's crazy to me that Sabalenka has fewer slams than Naomi Osaka, but arguably is by far the more accomplished player. And I know that might hurt some Osaka fans, but we've got to call a spade a spade. Sabalenka has won more titles, much more titles than Naomi has. Sabalenka's won 20 WTA titles to Osaka's 7. They're sort of around the same age too. It's crazy. It's so crazy that Naomi has won more, but it just goes to show that a lot of it just comes down to how clutch you are. And 4 of Naomi's 7 titles were slams, and during her peak, Osaka was just money when it came to the business end of the slams, and that's something that Sabalenka is not right now, and it's going to be a shame. I feel like Sabalenka, she really could have already accomplished the career slam, let alone she could have done the calendar slam, if we're being totally honest. Like in 2023, she could have at least made all 4 slam finals. 2024, I mean, she was injured at Wimbledon, but definitely 2025. Here at Wimbledon, low-key, she could have completed the Sabalenka slam of winning all 4 slams in a row. So I truly feel like she's a big underachiever, but I mean, props to her for being able to put it behind her and still push and do a little bit better. And I think that ultimately, though, she put a lot of pressure on herself to win Wimbledon. She wasn't trying to lose her 3rd straight final, but I mean, she accomplished that goal. She didn't lose a 3rd straight final this time. She lost in the semifinals, and I do think that this is better, her losing in the semifinal stage, than in the finals, because with how she's playing and with how Iga's playing, I would not favor her in the Wimbledon final at all. Another crazy stat is that Sabalenka has now played 100 slam matches without losing in straight sets. Just, again, goes to show how strong she has been in these majors. And Sabalenka, despite yet another disappointing, heartbreaking loss, she was still pretty positive in the press conference. She even cracked a joke when entering and was like, y'all aren't going to get another Roland Garros final moment from me, so I'm not going to be salty and stuff like that. So it was nice to see her at least in good spirits. But again, I don't know. Like, I'm just wondering, how much more can this woman take? Like, how much more can she take? I think that, of course, she has a solid shot at winning the U.S. Open, making the finals of the last 2 U.S. Opens. So maybe this can be the time where she finally does it. But I think even still, it'll just be disappointing that she hasn't won a slam already. But focusing on the victor, of course, Anisimova, we all know the story. I don't have to rehash it, of her facing all the pressure as a youngin and then also suffering the passing of her father. But still, I'm mentioning it yet again because it's quite something, and it's touching to me again because I know how tough it can be to lose a parent. I lost my mother when I was 7 years old, so it's really inspiring and such a heartwarming story to see Amanda overcome that adversity and be bold enough to take a break. And I think she will be a role model for many people to take time off, even if it's not from an injury or from a pregnancy, just to take time off mentally. Not a lot of players have done that. So I fully give Amanda her props, and it's so great to see her back, not even back, in her first Slam final. I've always said for years and years that Amanda can win the Slam, and now she's showing her potential. So full props to her for that. And even talking about her in this match, I noticed her improvements in her movement. I think that ultimately helped her win the match, as even when Sabalenka did employ more drop shots, Amanda was right there for a lot of them. And also just impressed with Amanda's nerve and playing for her maiden Slam final against the world #1. She wasn't deterred at all after dropping her serve at 5-3, and she finished it beautifully. And just overall, her not giving up in the third set when things looked bleak, so proud of her fight. And the forehand, it did hold up well in the latter part of the match. And while Sabalenka, she did have a little bit of a dip, you can't deny, you have to just give Amanda her props with how well she played towards the end of this match. I think that Anisimova's sound ball striking really made it harder for Sabalenka to execute a strong game plan of moving Anisimova and getting the American out of position. And Amanda also incorporated some variety herself with more slices and chip shots and drop shots. And I think that's another aspect that helped her win some crucial points in this semifinal. Ultimately, like I said before, the match was fully on her racket, and she fully deserved the win. Now, the other women's semifinal was nowhere near as eventful as the first, as Iga Swiatek utterly dominated Belinda Bencic 6-2, 6-love in 72 minutes. Iga now becomes the only active player to reach Slam finals on 3 different surfaces. Venus Williams, she is no longer considered active, so I'll say that Iga still holds that title. Talking about this match briefly, because it's really not much to talk about. Swiatek, she served amazing, like how she has been serving throughout this entire fortnight. She hit her spot so wonderfully, and she's finishing these points quickly and well with the strong serve +1 shots. And Iga's dominance on her serve, of course, translates well to her dominating from the ground. And Iga was the one who took a lot of time away from Belinda here, which we thought would be the other way around of Belinda. She's notoriously strong at taking balls early, cutting off the angles, taking time away from opponents. But Iga beat Belinda at her own game, which was quite something to see. And Belinda could not dictate at all throughout this match. And it also helps Swiatek's case that she returned incredibly well throughout this match. And she was not only just making a lot of returns in, but she returned a lot of her returns with interest, with good pace and depth that got the ball right back on Bencic and rushed the Swiss woman a lot. And the forehand, it was as steady as it has been this entire tournament, probably the best it's looked this fortnight. And it was truly just a flawless match from the Polish woman, probably her best match of this entire season. Just reading off the stats, she hit 68% of her first serves in. She won 83% of her points when she made the first serve. She was 6 for 6 from the net, and she finished with 26 winners to just 13 unforced errors. And Belinda didn't even play that bad. She actually played well. She had 11 winners to 8 unforced errors, but that just goes to show just how much of a step above Iga was throughout this match. And yes, it might have been a toe issue for Belinda, as she did crack her toenail, I believe, in her semifinal or her quarterfinal match against Andreeva. But even if Belinda was fully healthy in that regard, she was going to be no match for Iga on today. And I think this win definitely means that Iga is fully out of the trenches. I think that this will no longer be a flop year for Iga. Even if she doesn't come out on top of this championship, just her being able to return to a Slam final, especially on grass, her first grass court Slam final, her first final at Wimbledon, is quite an achievement in itself. And it's ironic that she's played her best tennis of this entire season on grass, but it low-key makes sense because I think some of why she had a little bit of a difficulty on grass in the previous years was because she burnt and used so much energy during the clay season. She won basically everything and on the clay from 2022 to 2024. This year, she didn't win a single title on the clay, so she had a little bit more left in the tank, and I think she was able to prepare a little bit more, had that strong showing in Bad Homburg, which set the tone for her to go deep and make another final here. And it was at the biggest grass court tournament there is at Wimbledon. With how she's been playing throughout this fortnight, I think the Iga will be the big favorite to win this final, despite Anisimova just beating the world #1. This marks their first ever tour level meeting, and it's crazy because it's on the biggest stage, the Wimbledon final, and both women will be going for their first ever Wimbledon title. Amanda will be playing for her maiden slam period, while Iga will be going for her 6th slam. Iga would rise to world #3 with the title, and Amanda would rise up to #5 in the world, her career high. I think that Iga will be better prepared for Amanda Anisimova's pace, especially compared to how Sabalenka was prepared coming into that semifinal, because Iga has faced big hitters pretty much throughout this entire tournament. She beat Samsonova in the quarterfinals, Towson in the 4th round, Collins in the 3rd round, even Polina Kudermetova is a big hitter in the opening round. The lone player that caused her problems and the lone player to take a set from her was Katie McNally in the 2nd round, who isn't a big power player at all. She comes within a little bit more variety and a little bit more, flair to her game, which Anisimova, while she has shown a little bit more variety, she does not have anywhere near the same flair as a McNally does. I think that Anisimova might be the biggest ball striker, at least more consistent big hitter from the ground that Iga has faced, so that could be a bigger challenge for Swiatek. But still, I think that Iga should handle Anisimova's ball striking just fine. I think that Amanda maybe should mix things up and take some notes from McNally and slice a little bit more, use more drop shots and more shorter chip shots to draw her opponent in, like she did against Sabalenka in that semifinal. I think it's going to take Amanda to play her best tennis yet, maybe of her life, to even have a chance to hang with Iga. That's how well that Swiatek has been playing. And I feel like even with how solid she played against Sabalenka, it will not be enough against Iga. I think it's also going to take an Iga dip in form for Amanda to be able to have a strong shot at taking this win. Amanda needs to hope that Iga has a off serving day. And then too, I think that Amanda's going to have to hope for Iga to have a poor returning day, and similar to what Sabalenka had, because we cannot deny Sabalenka gifted Amanda a lot of easy points from return misses. It's not like Anisimova was serving so ungodly like Serena-like. It was just a lot of it was Sabalenka simply returned poorly. And I don't think that Swiatek will serve this poorly in the finals, which will pose a greater problem for Anisimova. I think Amanda's return will be a very important shot in this final, and she needs to be able to pounce immediately whenever she gets a second serve, as that will probably be the shortest or the weakest shot that she'll see in this rally. So definitely she needs to attack Iga's second serve relentlessly throughout this entire match, and that'll cause more pressure for Iga to make her first serve in, which could induce more missed first serves in itself. The backhand will also be an important shot for Anisimova. It's been her money shot, especially that backhand down the line. Nerves will be a factor for sure for both women. I can see this one being a nervy final. Amanda, this is her first ever slam final. Iga, meanwhile, she's been in this position 5 times before, and she is 5-0 in major finals, and she has an impeccable 22-5 record in finals overall, regardless of it being a slam. And she will be going for her first title, period, since winning Roland Garros in 2024. The question will be, will Iga actually feel the moment here? She knows that she's going to be a big favorite, I feel at least, coming into this one, although she's handled the favorite title so well, especially knowing that this was a big opportunity for her to be in this position with all the seeds falling in the draw, the top seeds at least. Amanda, I think that she might play free though, knowing that Iga on paper will be more of a big favorite to win this, and I think that helped her in her match against Sabalenka. It'll be a little bit of a different thing because Amanda already came into the semifinal riding a lot more confidence, having beaten Sabalenka 5 times before. Yes, she's never lost to Iga, but she has never beaten Swiatek before, and we might see an intimidation factor from Swiatek now that she's back in her top form. I think that physically, Iga definitely has the edge. Not only is she the more physically fit player, but she's played about 2 hours less on court compared to Anisimova throughout this tournament, and I'm wondering wondering whether Anisimova will be gassed like she seemingly was at the start of the third set against Sabalenka if this one does go the distance. Iga, I think that she will inevitably have a period where she is a little bit shaky. We saw that a little bit in the Bencic semifinal, although she's able to get herself out of trouble like fine. But Amanda, she simply has got to pounce immediately and take any opportunity that she has, which will be a tougher ask in the biggest match of her life. I think that Anisimova, overall, while she has been playing well, she looks much more beatable compared to Iga. And I feel like Iga and her team will be able to draft together a sound and ideal strategy to take the American down. And I think that she will be in better form than Sabalenka, much more better form at least, and will be more prepared to face this type of opponent. I think that Iga, she can better direct pace compared to Sabalenka, and I think that she will get Anisimova on the move where the American is a lot more vulnerable. I'm feeling really confident in this pick. I'm going to be having Iga take this one in straight sets with a 6-3, 6-4 scoreline. One other thing here that is in Iga's favor is the infamous Venus Golf, who predicted that Barbora Krejcikova would win Wimbledon before the tournament even started, before the draw even dropped. They also predicted the person whoever drew Polina Kudermetova in the opening round of Wimbledon this year would go on to win the title. And who drew Polina Kudermetova in the opening round of Wimbledon this year? Iga Swiatek. I mean, it looks like it's written in the stars by Venus Golf. That is all I have for my Wimbledon women's semifinal recap video / finals prediction. And let me know your thoughts on Sabalenka and whether you think that she can walk away with the slam in 2025. Also, let me know whether you agree with me having Swiatek win the final in straight sets, or if you think that Anisimova will pull off another big upset and take her maiden Wimbledon title, maiden slam title. Again, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post my Wimbledon finals recap analysis video as well. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I will see you all next time here on Christian's Court.